Got to turn the light on. What's up, everybody? There we go. Yeah, now we're not sitting in the dark. I wasn't sitting in the dark anyway, for whatever reason. It looks dark over there when we first cranked this thing up. So anyway, big news today is the labor situation, labor strife, whatever. They still haven't got the charter agreement together, and for the first time since 1969. Nice. NASCAR could possibly be looking at a strike or a split or whatever, and that is the poll question. Will there be a strike? Will there be a series split? Nothing will happen. They'll play rock, paper, scissors to figure out how it goes down. So let's look at each scenario. Then I will give my opinion on what I think is going to happen. First case scenario, what would have to happen for a strike? What would a strike look like? A lot of people are speculating, maybe they sit out the Daytona 500, because that would be the one, right? Like if you want to really make some noise, you would sit out the Daytona 500 or possibly another big race like that. So that could be one way that they go about it. So that is the strike scenario, and that scenario only plays out, of course, is if they can't get this agreement done, which they had all of last year to get it done. We're halfway through this season; they still haven't got it done. The other scenario that some people are throwing out there, there would be a series split, aka sort of like they did with CART and IndyCar. And you see IndyCar has never really recovered from that. So hopefully that's not the route they go. But in that particular situation, people are saying, maybe Rick Hendrick and Joe Gibbs and Roger Penske pull out of NASCAR for one season or so. One team has done it before, but never a whole lot of big teams, right? Richard Petty pulled out of NASCAR one year trying to get some extra accommodations for Dodge Plymouth. But if all three of these pulled out, and maybe they just decide to go race the Cars Tour or something, because that's the one they throw out there. Because Dale Jr., Jeff Burton, Justin Marks, they own the Cars Tour. Kevin Harvick own the Cars Tour. So that's what a split would look like, according to the theories that are being thrown out. And I want to emphasize theory today, because I guess it came out late today, and now it's popping off today. And then the third situation, nothing happens, and they actually get the deal done. So that's actually kind of what I'm leaning toward. I think there's going to be a lot of hard feelings, but I think eventually a deal does get done before Daytona. And the only thing that interests me from that is I want to see who wins out on the deal. Is it going to be an actual compromise, or is NASCAR all the way going to win out, or are the teams all the way going to win out? Do they become like full-on partners instead of just basically being essentially paying NASCAR for a charter to be a vendor? Is the situation that it is now, whereas they're trying to make the charters permanent, at which point they would have some equity in NASCAR and they would be brought to the table for some of these negotiations like the TV contract. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it goes one way or the other. But anyway, that is the poll question. And we'll see where it stands right now. If the charter deal lingers on, there will be a strike, 17%, series split, 12%, 58% saying nothing will happen, and 12% saying they're going to play rock, paper, scissors. Let's see. For some reason, my phone thought that I called it, and it just came on right there. So let's see what you guys want to talk about in the chat here. I hate this is Race Hub's finale so much. It shouldn't be the finale tonight. It feels like the media partner doesn't care about the fans. Don't go there, IndyCar. We warned you. Yeah. So yeah, I'm with you. I think probably worst case scenario is a split, because I don't think IndyCar ever recovered from it. I mean, you're looking at IndyCar right now. Like IndyCar back in the day was this huge spectacle, this huge sport covered by every major media sporting entity at one point, and now it's just become a niche type of thing that people follow. It's still fun, and it's one of the best motorsports out there, in my opinion, from what I've seen. I'm not an expert on it by any means, but for whatever reason, it has become a niche sport, except for the Indy 500. It's sort of become like horse racing, right? Nobody really watches horse racing, but then when the Triple Crown, Kentucky Derby, Belmont Stakes, when those big races come around, they watch them, and then you don't really hear anything else about horse racing. That's kind of what the Indy Racing Series has become, in my opinion. David Land out there doing the Lord's work, and Breakhard also, so getting a lot of good Indy content from them. But other than that, I really don't hear too much about them. So hopefully there's not a split, because I feel like IndyCar never splits. So I feel like that would be worst case scenario. A strike, if it was only one race, I don't know, Daytona 500, that would be a hard one to come back from. But if the strike only lasted one race, I think you can come back from that. 1969, they had a strike. I want to say maybe at Talladega was the track that they had the strike at. If I'm just trying to remember it off the top of my head. But if that was the case, I think a one race deal you can come back from, because obviously they came back from that in 1969. But yeah, that would be the second worst case scenario. Nothing happening is the best case scenario, because then you just keep getting it and you just basically go forward with what you got. So interesting stuff. Bumblebee weighing in saying it's not going to be a strike, y'all. Jealous Bumblebee's enjoying some cold ones with her sisters, and Glock said that he is jealous of that. Stuck at work. Drink one for me, homie, says Glock. Chrome Diesel, what's up, my friend? Good to see you on here as always. Glock, you got it, says B. Too many finales this week. Sajak's final wheel, Fox's final Xfinity Race Hub finale today. Makes it seem more like they don't care anymore, says Napa Racing fan. So yeah, as far as that goes, like Jeopardy no longer has Alex Trebek. Like Wheel of Fortune soon will no longer have Pat Sajak. There's no longer NASCAR Race Hub, which was a carryover from the Speed channel. So just a lot of, and this is to be expected with the internet and with streaming and things like that. Now this is to be expected, but I think some of the things people weren't taking into account is some of the shows, some of your favorite shows that you've always watched, not just in racing, but in everything else. Some of those shows are going to get lost in the shuffle, and they're not going to be shows that are streamed. So Race Hub appears to be one of those. You would think Race Hub would carry over to whatever platform going forward NASCAR has, but apparently that's not going to be the case. Race Hub is the first victim of this battle for cable versus streaming versus whatever, whoever satellite, whoever wins out here, right? So that they appear to be the first victim, and it's been replaced by everybody's favorite medium right now, at least going off of views. I'm not saying off of quality of content, but it's basically been replaced with another podcast, right? So everybody and their brother has a podcast. So eventually podcasts will hit critical mass and something else will come along and replace podcasts. But right now we're in the podcast era, whereas for a long time we were in the golden TV era. So yeah, that is the shuffle that's going on, and that's part of the reason that Race Hub got gone. So it's interesting how it's going to play out going forward. But the Fox doesn't care part, that I think there's more to it than just Race Hub going away. You look at the camera work, you look at the direction. I'm not even going to say the camera work's bad, but the cameras that they are picking and what they're telling their cameramen to focus on, the direction of those is just not good. Not like, if you remember earlier on when Fox first got NASCAR, it was so good what they were doing with the sport, but they never evolved. They never got really any better. And in some cases, according to a lot of people, they've gotten worse with their coverage. So that is probably more so what leads into people saying, hey, they just don't care anymore and things like that. Let's see. I think it all worked out, Bumblebee. I think they do strike at the championship this year, especially if all four are from Hendrick, Gibbs, or Penske, says Cody Ledger. That would be a big move, man. That would take a brass set right there if they did that. So if that's the case, and if that's what happens, that would really send a message. Like if you sat out all four of your championship drivers, man, could you even convince if I was going for the championship and I was the driver in that championship, could you even convince me to sit out that race? I might rent a car from Rick Ware Racing, and get my team to put it together. I don't know. I don't know if I was going for that championship, if I could sit that out. But if they could figure out a way to make it work and make those drivers sit out, that would be a strong message to NASCAR. The other part of that is NASCAR apparently is, according to some people in some people's eyes, and I think they make a fair argument for this, NASCAR is showing how weak the teams actually are by having Front Row Motorsports buy this charter. It's showing that not all the teams are as strong and as unified as you would think they would be. Now, that could go either way, but you can make a strong argument based off of that. You can also make the argument that Front Row Motorsports just thinks eventually this thing is going to get sorted out. And if they're going to buy a charter, they might as well get a charter at a discount. And right now, you're getting a charter at a discount. So that's probably the business gamble that they're making. Business is nothing but, when you get the business at that level, business is nothing but a gamble. So for somebody to make a gamble like that, I think makes more sense. But I do see the strong argument that some people make that says this shows the teams are not, unified like they should be. I don't think that's necessarily the case, but I understand where they're coming from. BB, are all your tools Snap-on? Says OJ and Toothpaste. On Earth 2, maybe all my tools are Snap-on. Most of my tools, I guess hand tools. I've got Gear Wrench and just a mix of Cobalt and Craftsman and Pittsburgh, just because you can get them replaced pretty easily. Like you take a Cobalt tool, they'll pretty much replace that wrench if something happens. It's pretty much a lifetime warranty. Same deal with the Pittsburgh tools, and Craftsman used to be like that, but all the Craftsman tools I have are older Craftsman tools back when Craftsman had that warranty back in the day. But never bought into the old I don't want to pay an arm and a leg for Snap-on type of tools. Maybe if I use them more often than I do. I'm typically using somebody else's tools when I'm working on race cars. So yeah, maybe if that was the case, I would invest in better tools. They do have, like, as far as wrenches and stuff like that, the higher quality wrench you buy, they do have better grip and they wear out less. But I for what I do, the lifetime guarantee, good enough for me. Hi, fellas and ladies. Yo, what's up, BB? What's up, Roofer? Good to see you on here, my friend. Howdy from the Great White North. What's up, Robin Marks? So what's up, Canada? The racing was great. Kyle wins, and Ross is wrecking people again. Denny blew up, and Gibbs wrecked. Charters, what's a charter? SVG, Troll and Hill. So yeah, I didn't get to see the Xfinity Series race, but then after I was able to see the highlights and I saw the after and all that, Austin Hill getting trolled. He was basically flipping off SVG because SVG roughed him up to get the lead, no doubt about it. But then Hill flipping him off after the race, and then SVG basically doing the burnout in his face. So that's entertainment. That's good. That's good TV. That's good drama. That's good excitement. That's good for the sport. But yeah, you can understand where Hill's coming from. SVG said he has no ill will toward Austin Hill, and then the people that don't like Austin Hill, they're like, that's what he gets. He races people like that all the time. So it's just, you got all these different angles. So it creates a good storyline for the sport. So yeah, Xfinity race definitely worth the price of admission, to say the least. BB, is it true you are running for the Lakers head coaching job? No, I'm not a big Lakers fan. I pulled for them when they had Kobe because the Seattle Supersonics were gone. But other than that, not necessarily a Lakers guy anymore. They can keep that job. I don't think there's a lot. Like, LeBron's going to retire. Like, your best player is retiring. Anthony Davis, I don't feel like he can stay healthy. So I don't think it's as great a job as a lot of people are thinking. And the fact that Dan Hurley from UConn turned it down was not really a surprise to me if you look at the talents coming back. And basically, I think they've mortgaged away a lot of their draft picks. I don't think it's a great situation over there in LA if you're coming in as a head coach. Let's see, Race Hub wasn't a necessity anymore, but still a nice thing to have. A sports cable show that some fans probably take for granted. Some podcasts are good, but it's become too many, says Napa Race fan. And that's what I'm talking about with critical mass with the podcast. It just feels like there are so many podcasts out there. You could have one of the best podcasts in the world right now, but unless it's getting promoted, it's just going to be drowned out by so much noise right now. To make it in, if you want to do a podcast, do a podcast. Like, go for it. I'm never the guy that's like, don't chase what you want to do in life. But you better be really good, and you better figure out the marketing side of it and all that stuff, because it is tough. It is tough to be heard above all the noise right now, because I swear it feels like no matter what happens in life, we need a 2 to 3 hour podcast to figure out what just happened. Like Austin Hill versus SVG. I promise you, somewhere on the internet right now, there's a 2 to 3 hour podcast dedicated just to that event. They're going to extrapolate and bring out every single angle, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just telling you, there is a podcast for everything, and they've become so niche at this point that to break out, and there's just the volume of them all together, to break out, you really got to know what you're doing. You got to be consistent, and you got to do something to elevate your stuff above what everybody else is doing. That being said, I think if you just do something that everybody's not doing right now, like everybody right now seems to be doing a podcast, maybe do something different. Do something different to gain their entertainment, and I think that would probably be the better route, because everybody's podcasts, you're really just sitting there talking and 2 or 3 cameras, and you've got a podcast going. So if you go for higher effort, maybe lower volume, maybe something like that could pop off. But yeah, TV shows getting canceled for podcasts. A long time ago, nobody would have ever thought that would be a thing, especially when podcasts were just on like download. They weren't visual back in the day. People would have told you were crazy, but that's the world we live in. Yo, Robin Mark says, stupid roofer. Napa saying by letting go of employees. So yeah, dropping the employees too. Like that's the other thing of the podcast. That's actually one of the benefits. I just talked about it. You just need 2 or 3 cameras, one guy on a switcher, and then that you don't need to really edit anything in except maybe throw a few inserts in there. From what they were talking about, it's a pretty quick edit. So you're down to one person for the editing. The same person switching could do all the editing. So yeah, from a production standpoint, they're way cheaper, and I think they're getting basically better or the same numbers as Race Hub. So yeah, I think that's part of the reason why they got dropped. I think Race Hub's demise started when Speed transferred to FS1. Yeah, a lot of NASCAR and motorsports content suffered, and the beginning of the end was when FS1 bought out Speed, or Speed became FS1. It was always a Fox entity, I want to say. NASCAR is a mess, says Roofer. Rest in peace to Steve Burns. Also noticed they had everyone but Ricky Craven on the Hub finale. That's pretty wild. That's pretty wild. I didn't notice that. I haven't seen it yet. Gear Wrench is awesome, says Roofer. Yeah, I'm a pretty big Gear Wrench fan. Kevin Harvick and Kurt Busch were sponsored by Gear Wrench. Indeed, they were. Indeed, they were. That's actually what made me try them out for the first time. And I want to say Apex Tools. Apex Tools is the overall owner of Gear Wrench, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that. SVG better than Shill is ever going to be, says Bumblebee. Talking about Sheldon Creed. Yeah, I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Sheldon Creed, but the fact that SVG's gone over there and won Australian V8 Supercar stuff, he's won a lot of other stuff. People that are really familiar with SVG would know that better than me, but he's one of those guys kind of like he is kind of like, he doesn't really get talked about it a lot like this, but he is kind of like Kyle Larson, where he kind of jumps in anything and he gets 90% of the way there pretty quickly. So I would put him in that. That being said, I think Austin Hill is a legitimate talent. I think Austin Hill's a really great talent. So I don't want anybody to take that the wrong way. If I had to pick going forward, because I want to say SVG's 35 and Austin Hill is only 30, so there is about a 5-year difference, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on Hill's age. If anybody wants to check that, if they're super concerned with my stats, go ahead and check that. But don't quote me on it. But I think he's about 30, and I think SVG is about 35. So you're getting a 5-year difference. So it would be a tough pick because you've got a shorter window with SVG, which makes me believe he's going to be the next guy called up the Cup. Now that I think about it, but if you call Austin Hill up there, you get him for his entire prime. He's sort of like a Josh Berry type guy when you call him up the Cup. It would be a tough pick for me if I was starting a race team today, and those were the only 2 options I had. Who would win a fight? SVG versus Austin Hill. It's hard to say, man. I typically want to say, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. I'm not necessarily 100% on Hill's background, but if you're just going on size of the athlete, he would have a size and reach advantage. That being said, you never underestimate New Zealanders or Australians. So if you watched enough UFC, you know the deal. So I would say, and they also have a culture down there, whereas I don't know, Americans a lot of times in racing specifically will break up a fight pretty quick. They don't have that same, ask Tony Stewart, they don't have that same culture down there, down under and in New Zealand. So I would have to probably give the experience to SVG, and I would probably give the reach and the height and the weight advantage to Austin Hill. There's a reason there's weight classes, so that could go either way. I don't know. It's a hard one to call. Somebody else can handicap that one for me. SVG hands down, saying Bumblebee. Snap-on wrenches are, I'll tell you this much right now, I wouldn't want to fight either one of them, but if I did, I would use both hands. I wouldn't leave my left hand tied behind my back like I normally do. Snap-on wrenches are awful. Mac tools are good, says Roofer. What's up, BD and crew, says T-Van. What's up, T-Van? Good to see you on here. Hill's a bigger girl than me, says Bumblebee. So yeah, Hill definitely has his non-fan club. Some people have fan clubs. Hill has a non-fan club. And it gets bigger and bigger every day. Let's see. Hill is just a big bully. Hill pleaded the 5th for Keyboard Warriors. I think that's one way of looking at it, Napa, for sure. But another way of looking at it is he literally told the truth. No matter what he said, including that, was going to get criticized. And that's to his point. I think is actually a pretty good troll on his part as far as that goes. But yeah, it doesn't matter what he says at this point. He's going to be in Denny Hamlin territory. The crowd has decided he is going to be the next villain. Yo-Yo T-Van, cheers, brother, says Roofer. Napa, he's a child in a 28. So he's 28. So he's 28. I was pretty close on the 30 deal. So 28-year-old body. T-Van's laughing. Sad thing is, I want to like Austin. Well, I do like Austin. I think he's a good race car driver, and I think he's good for the sport. But I also like Denny Hamlin, so so take that for what it's worth. True, getting ridiculous at this point, says NASCAR Race fan. I see talent in him. What's up, Roofer? Hey, T-Van. Hey, Roofer. Hey, OJ and Toothpaste. OJ and Toothpaste, what's up, my friend? Let's see. Dropped all the good pictures for us on Discord. No, I'm talking about Hill. Elite Precision is a good, nice break from just the doom and gloom, says Roofer. Yeah, I like Elite, man. He's always doing something different. Go check out his channel if you haven't seen it. He's always doing like a different topic that's not always carried by the mainstream. He's coming up with his own topics on his own. So he's doing legit content that's just outside of the box, in my opinion, and I love every minute of it, man. He needs as many subscribers, or he should have way more subscribers than he has. I'll say that. I watched a lot more racing when Speed Channel was around and learned a lot more when Speed was on, says T-Van. Yeah, so Wind Tunnel with Dave Despain was probably the biggest loss. I don't remember when Wind Tunnel went away, but I feel like Wind Tunnel was a big loss for the racing community. And it was kind of, ironically, it was sort of replaced by, at the time, a radio show, which would be the equivalent of a podcast. I think it was basically, the time slot at least was replaced by Speed Freaks. And I don't think Speed Freaks ever hit that same mainstream where they covered everything like Dave Despain did, or they covered it the same way that Dave Despain did. So yeah, Wind Tunnel was the biggest loss from all of the Speed Vision, Speed TV, whatever you want to call it stuff. Hiya BB48 says Roofer. There's the merch link if you drop by Bumblebee if you want to help out the channel. It would be much appreciated. Hill don't have a lot of the Hill doesn't have a whole continent rooting for him, says Duke Chronic. So there you go. That's a fact. Get your BB merch here, and that's the link I was talking about earlier. Appreciate you there, Bumblebee. Duke Chronic, that's a good point. He doesn't have a whole continent behind him, so that is a fair criticism. What is the continent? Is Oceania the continent? Trying to remember. We veered off the beaten path here. Yeah, so Oceania is the continent. Australia is the country. So there you go. I get it. Somebody was talking about that the other day, and I was like, that's pretty funny. I'd never even thought about it. SVG is left-handed. SVG would just smoke. Oh, he's got the lefty advantage, so he's coming at him southpaw. That's a hard thing to adjust for. Most people need a full camp to adjust to that. So that would definitely be an advantage for most people for sure. Let's see. Kyle Busch learned the hard way. Don't insult a driver's fans, says Duke Chronic. Iowa finally got a cup race, but the race will unfortunately be Old Bristol 7th, 8th mile with a half repave. Hopefully it'll be a good one. Hopefully it'll be a good one where they got to root people out of the way. Hopefully it will be hopefully it's well received, and hopefully they go back there, because a lot of people are concerned that it's only going to be a one-off race because they only got it because some other racetrack didn't get a race or something like that. If you pave it, they will come, says in between the lanes. So there's the link for Elite Precision's channel. If you want to go over there and join his channel, or watch the channel, and then if you like it, of course, do the join. Hit the join button. He has great content. Speed even had game shows that were good. I don't remember the game shows. The things I mostly watched on Speed. What I thought Speed was great for was what ESPN2 was great for when ESPN2 first came. You got to see all these different sports that you never got to see before. So I got to see all these different motorsports that I'd never had any experience with or got to see before. Speed World Challenge, Australian V8 Supercars, Formula 2. Like, they had just a little bit of everything. Two Wheel Tuesday was all the motorcycle racing and stuff like that. A ton of dirt racing that you would never get to see anywhere else. The closest thing to it now would be MAV TV, but MAV TV is mostly grassroots racing. They don't have that wide breadth of stuff that Speed Channel used to have, so it's just different. It's different today. I guess Flow TV maybe, but Flow is still grassroots to some extent. Hey BB, can you make a good bologna burger? Says Ben Kluber. I can make a good bologna burger, and I actually had one for the first time this year. I want to say maybe the second bologna burger I've had this year. I had it this weekend at South Boston. Wonder if Hamlin grenaded his engine to tell NASCAR that the 650 still has reliability issues too, says Cody Ledger. I don't know. From the SMT data, it looks like the engine just blew up by itself. It wasn't over revved or anything like that. Could you imagine Daytona 500 2025 without Hendrick? Joe Gibbs and Penske, that would be nuts. It would be pretty crazy. It would be, and like I said, that would send the strongest message. Somebody earlier mentioned if they got, like, if Hendrick and Penske and all them had all the final, and Gibbs had all the Final Four drivers, and they held their Final Four drivers out in the championship race, those would be the two biggest messages for a single race strike that you could send to NASCAR. So it would be pretty insane. I don't know how well that would be received by the fans, though. OJF Toothpaste, what's up, my friend? Good to see you on here, my dude. BB, do you wear Beats headphones while you're working? I do not wear Beats headphones while I was working, but back when I worked in the factory, I wore the 3M, and 3M has been, what's it called? They've got like a class action lawsuit for the exact ear covers, ear protection that I was wearing back in the big heavy ones too, the one that went all the way over your ear. They're in a class action over that particular, I guess, head ear protection thing that I was wearing. But I would on occasion put in my earbuds while I had them on, so I could listen to some music in one ear while people tried to scream at me in my other ear what they were trying to tell me was wrong with the machines in the factory. So I did on occasion try to listen to something. It had to be a podcast or something, because it was just a big metal building with a concrete floor, so it was terrible reception. Unless you were in the break room, you really couldn't pull anything from radio or streaming or anything like that. So you had to download a podcast basically and listen to it. And that tells you how long podcasts have been long. It will be a hot race in the 90s and close to 100. Heat indexes in Iowa this weekend, says Mark Barnum. Pastime and Pinks were cool shows. Pinks was a pretty cool show. I forgot about that one. Yeah, Pinks was a good one. I never watched Pastime, but I feel like it was pretty much the same premise. But yeah, they walked so that Street Outlaws could run. Street Outlaws is the Bowman Gray of the drag racing world. Does SVG have a pet kangaroo? I don't know. I'd have to ask him about that. We were talking about fun NASCAR commercials earlier. ESPN SVG. That's a tough call because SVG is not getting any younger. SVG, I want to say, is in his 30s. Let me pull up that since let's see. He's got a shorter window, so I think, yeah, he's 35 from Auckland, New Zealand. So you would think he would be. You think he would be prioritized, not only because he's already won a race, but because he's got the shorter window. You would want to maximize your time with him. So I would think he would get priority, but you never know. Maybe they just want to bring Zane Smith in there, and maybe they rent out the Colleague cars and they just do their deal through Colleague, which is what I think is. There's a possibility that happens, because that would make sense with all the talk. Like Colleague said, they're not selling to Trackhouse, but they didn't say they weren't going to do a deal with Trackhouse. So maybe they bring on a third charter to Colleague, and some of that money is offset by putting SVG in that car, and then Colleague gets 3 cars. Like, there's all kinds of scenarios and situations. So maybe they go with both of them. But if it was me personally and I was picking a guy, I think Zane Smith's got a bright future. I don't want to say anything bad about him, but I would go with SVG as opposed to Zane as it stands right now. Don't forget the I Can't Drive 55 ESPN ad, says Napa Racing Fan. That was a good one too. Probably the best. I mean, I got to go with Napa. Napa probably had some of the best. And if you want to go far enough back, Hardee's was probably the best promotional sponsor NASCAR ever had. But yeah, Napa, their series of commercials back in the day, all the way up, even until they got Chase Elliott in on a couple of the commercials, but you don't really see too many Napa Chase Elliott commercials now. But back in the day, you had Truex, you had Michael Waltrip, and then later Chase Elliott. All the Napa commercials were pretty good. NASCAR created their own monster with the charter system. They did. That's a fact. Like, I never understood why they brought it to begin with. I know they were trying to appease the Michael Waltrip racing dude, but they definitely created their own monster, so to speak. 2000s NASCAR commercials were fun. I worked for Pepsi, and I rocked the one earbud all day, going around different accounts. Definitely makes the day go by faster, says Dirty Def. Yep. 100%. And it's funny when somebody's like trying to talk to you and you're like, oh, you gotta like turn your head, like get to the good ear, like, because you're like you're reaching in your pocket to turn it down, and you're also trying to cock your good ear so you can sort of hear them and stuff like that. So yeah, that's definitely something you got to do when you're rocking the one earbud there, at least for me, because it was just overall noisy where I was working at. Dirty Def saying, confirming that SVG is in fact 35 up here in Northwest Pennsylvania, says Roofer. 24 hours of Le Mans, Saturday 10 a.m. I believe on Motor Trend and Max. I think I've got Max, so for sure. So I'll actually get to watch the full Le Mans this year. I didn't get to see it all last year. Trackhouse is in a tough spot between Shane and Zane. it is a tough spot. It's a tough spot to be in, but I think they're going to make it work. And I think they've got a solid plan for it. I think they're going to buy one charter and probably stick Zane in it, or they'll buy one charter and stick SVG in it. And I think the Colleague deal will be where they stick the other driver. I think whichever driver has the most, and it'll all be Trackhouse stuff. It'll all be legit Trackhouse stuff. It'll be good stuff. But I think whoever brings in the most money will probably go over there. Ironically, will probably go over there to Colleague, and that'll help offset Colleague having to buy that third charter. Martin Truex Jr. with the Napa know-how. Yeah, the Martin Truex Jr. singing was a pretty good one. How will the 38 Xfinity car do for the rest of the season and beyond, says Douglas Serrano. That's a good question. I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't really watch Xfinity, so it's just hard for me to go there. I'm pretty sure it'll probably run the same it's run all year. I don't think you'll see an increase or a decrease in performance as far as that goes. But I don't think the beef with Retzlaff is gonna factor into anything either. Oh, Matty D. Okay, I got you. I was thinking for something. For some reason, I was thinking Ryan Sieg there. All right, so I had to look it up because I figured I had the wrong car, and I did. I was talking about the wrong dude. So the 38 car, I don't know how good that'll do. All I can tell you is, despite how Matt DiBenedetto leaves and stuff like that, he's a good driver. So he's going to get the most out of it no matter what it does. And I think having him in there is going to raise them up. So that being said, I still think the car is probably going to perform about where it's been performing, if I had to guess. Hey, BB, do you have an idea as to who Chevrolet will run next year, or are they still going to continue to use the Camaro? They'll probably use the Camaro. Like I said, they said the Camaro as we know it is gone. So they've been very specific about how they talked about that. So we'll probably, whatever they come back with, will probably somehow be a Camaro of some sort, is what I'm thinking. We want the truck. Dale Jarrett commercials were my favorites, but I've got a bias. I was a big Dale Jarrett fan. Yeah, the truck, all the UPS commercials were definitely really good. I think NASCAR, the Toyota Sponsify commercials were really good. And we've talked about this before, but there's definitely in the mid-2000s were a ton of really good. Everybody liked the gas perfume, Octane 102 perfume or whatever. I think NASCAR wanted a big sponsor, and I guarantee that they will be in the race. Says Duke Chronic. I don't know. If you're talking about NASCAR buying their own charter, I don't know how that would work out. It's not a great idea. It doesn't look good optically, and it just doesn't. It's not a good. If NASCAR buys a charter, I don't think that's a great idea. If that's what you're talking about, I'm assuming that's what you were talking about. Any diecast cars you're interested in, certain driver or driver sponsors, manufacturers. I'm done on the diecast for this year. So no matter what comes out, just gotta cut it off. Gotta spend my money elsewhere. ESPN had a stretch of just great commercials. Yeah, back in the day, ESPN had some good ones. Denny Hamlin with the Mavis Tires and Brakes commercial. So yeah, that is a good thing. King's Hawaiian and the ones for RFK. It's starting to trend the other way. You're starting to see some NASCAR drivers in commercials again, and I am 100% here for that. Dirty Def saying also SVG has a lot more enthusiasm around him right now when it comes to sponsors. I wouldn't be surprised if Colleague signed Zane, something similar to Spire. But if you're Zane, I would rather go back to Front Row Motorsports, says Dirty Def. Yeah, unfortunately, he can't do that because he is under contract with Colleague. So whatever he drives is going to have to be a Chevrolet. But yeah, he was in a good situation over there with Front Row, especially if he could have read the future and knew what was going to happen with Front Row. He would definitely probably be one of the drivers over there right now, but I think he's still in a good situation with Trackhouse. But yeah, I'm with you. I would go with SVG right now. He's got the more experience. He's always going to be a threat on road courses no matter what. He's starting to put together the circle track stuff, and whatever he hops in, he kind of just figures out pretty quick. So I would 100% go with SVG. You got a shorter window. You might as well get all you can get out of him while he's still in his prime. Last year, Toyota Racing had Martin Truex Jr. In a commercial, says in between the lanes. That they did. Didn't Junior do a couple of Napa commercials with Waltrip? He was in at least one of them. And also Gillette, the razor company, they had the Young Guns. Some of the Young Guns commercials were pretty good. Did you see the video of Chase moving Ross on the final turn at Sonoma? You didn't really hear much of anything about it after the race. NASCAR finally released a video of it. Later, says Dirty Def, I didn't see Chase moving Ross, but I did see Ross move Kyle Busch. That's the one that probably got the most attention, and I did see Chase behind Ross, but I guess he did finish in front of him. So that's interesting. So I guess Chase saw him move Kyle Busch, and then Chase returned the favor. Because of course, I want to say he's got a history with. I think he's got a history with Ross Chastain. It's hard to keep up with all the Ross Chastain stuff because some of it was legitimate, over-aggressive driving from Ross Chastain. Some of it was built up for the media and TV and stuff like that. So it's hard to keep up with all the real stuff that Ross was involved in. My kid still loves the Napa Know-How commercials. T-Van, according to Breakard, Chevy is wind tunnel testing a new cup body right now. Yeah, they're being super secretive about it. I saw a couple of things on it in Motor Trend as well. I want to say was maybe talking about it, but yeah, they're definitely wind tunnel testing a body. I don't know which body they're wind tunnel testing, but it's definitely top secret, whatever it is. And whatever it is, it's probably going to be the next Cup car, right? Because they don't have any other cars that they would keep under wraps. So it's probably the 4-door Corvette that's going to be the same chassis for the 4-door whatever Chevrolet comes out with, which is also probably going to trickle down to a 4-door something else for Cadillac. And possibly even Buick. Charters were made for big sponsors to come in, and know they will be in the race, says Duke Ryan. Okay, I got you. So yeah, like I said, the charters aren't necessarily going anywhere, but also they're not being made permanent. It's a really weird situation, and except for the fact that Jim France did at least bluff, if you want to look at it that way, or at least you said something for leverage saying he wanted to get rid of the charters altogether. So take that for what it's worth. RCR has been utilizing KB in 2 commercials. I've seen a few takes. It's almost refreshing to see them putting drivers and personalities back out. Long overdue, for sure. And even though magazines I guess do technically still exist, but they're not this mainstream thing that they used to be. But there used to be these really good print ads too. There were some really good print ads back in the day. I don't know how that will work. Maybe that's what Instagram has sort of become now. It's sort of your print ad, the equivalent of a print ad, I guess. Can you help explain how drivers get sponsors and how that relates to receiving a contract through a race team? Are some sponsors also connected to certain teams? Thanks. Yep, everything you said there is absolutely right. Drivers have some sponsorship that comes with them. Teams secure some sponsorship for themselves. And in rare cases, I'll use Hailie Deegan as the best example. All of Hailie Deegan's sponsorship is through Hailie Deegan. So Hailie Deegan gets all of her sponsors and picks where she wants to go. So that's how, most likely, in my opinion, how Hailie Deegan's sponsorship deal works. On the Cup side of things, Martin Truex Jr. Martin Truex Jr. has Bass Pro Shops, and wherever Martin Truex Jr. wants to go, that's where Martin Truex Jr. goes. Now, a different situation would be a guy like Daniel Hemrick. Daniel Hemrick has Poppy Bank and a couple of other sponsors, and then Colleague fills in the races that Daniel Hemrick doesn't have with those other sponsors, okay? So those sponsors that Colleague brings in are Colleague sponsors, and probably Kyle Busch's situation is similar. Kyle Busch probably has sponsors that came with him, and then RCR has some sponsors that they filled in as well. So I think that's so both of those answers are correct. It just depends on which driver you're talking about. But yeah, if you're a driver, the optimal situation is you're so good and you build up such a good social media presence and you just got this big Q score and everybody likes you, that you've got all these sponsors and you can go and pick the team that you race for. If you're a driver, that's the optimal situation. And from a team's perspective, it's not a terrible situation, but from a team's perspective, they just want to get a bunch of really good sponsors, and the team would just pick a driver that they think is very talented. That would probably, in my opinion, be the Josh Berry. I know Josh Berry has Harrison's, I think, with him. But I want to say, Stewart-Haas Racing, because Stewart-Haas Racing was taking a gamble on Kyle Larson when he went through the deal. He went through with the crazy thing he said on the live or on the iRacing deal. So Hendrick sponsored him. He had no sponsors, obviously, at that point, and Stewart-Haas Racing was going to take him on. So that would be a situation where the team had full sponsorship and they picked a driver. So it can go either way. It just depends on the situation. But optimally, the teams. And this is kind of how it worked back in the day. Optimally for the teams, they would like to have all the sponsorship, and they just pick a driver and put him in the race car. That would be how the teams would like to do it. Denny didn't have to race in a wet fire suit this weekend, says Mark Barnum. The in-car with Chase moving Ross, says Dirty Def. Yeah, like I said, I didn't see that one. I did see the one where Ross moved Kyle Busch, but then they didn't show as far as on my feed, I didn't see that on my other feed either. But thanks for dropping the link. I will go check it out here in just a minute. Nova SS 2025. So Baron Von Weebs has his ear to the ground, and he's predicting that it's going to be called the Nova SS. Appreciate you there, Baron. Always good to see you on here, my friend. I never was a fan of charters. It made qualifying meaningless to a certain extent. Yeah, so that's a good point, Chrome Diesel. That's another good point about the charters. It's one of the things with the charters give a few things. They give stability to the teams, but one of the things they take away is any type of consequence in qualifying outside of Daytona. And even in Daytona, it's only consequences for the teams that don't have them, that are trying to qualify for the race. One more thing to mention with the Race Hub finale, it was great to see everyone who was on the show back first time for the one last time, but also made you think, where did they go? Why didn't they stay, or were they let go? Says Napa Racing Fan. Yeah, it's a tough business, and it's always interesting to see. I know Chris Devoda they definitely let go, but other than that, I can't think of one that they actually let go of. So it would be interesting for someone to go in there and actually get those stories. Did you leave because you wanted to do other things, or were you told to leave because they wanted you to do other things? Does BB does ARCA produce better racing versus the Cars Tour? On Earth 2, ARCA would be superior to the Cars Tour, because on Earth 1, the Cars Tour has some of the best racing you'll ever see, whereas nothing against ARCA. You just have these teams that have way more money than your underfunded teams, and there's a clear separation in the car. And don't get me wrong, the Cars Tour eventually is going to get there, in my opinion, if it keeps going the way it's going. But hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully I'm 100% wrong about that, but I think the Cars Tour eventually is going to get there too. The more and more these Cup influence teams get in there and use their Cup information on late models. I'll put it to you that way. Let's see. What I do like about Ross is he does dish it out, and he can also take it. He never complains about how another driver races him. Yeah, that's actually why I like him too. Like, you don't ever see him get out of the car, flipping people off, cussing, and doing all that stuff, and crying that, oh, this guy used me up. He gives it, but when you give it back to him, he's just like, okay, I get it. Like, that's pretty much all he ever really says. So yeah, I do like it from that perspective. The reason I don't like drivers who wreck each other and then they get out of the car crying about it, there's just so much hypocrisy. I'm like, dude, you wrecked this guy like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Now you're complaining that some other guy wrecked you. You did the same thing. Like, that's what irritates me. But if you can get out of the car after being wrecked and be like, yeah, I mean, he got into me and that's just the way it is. Like, I'm okay with that. Like, how you drive, and that's okay. You're going to get driven back that way. Carly should try to get Josh Berry and Rodney Childers. So yeah, that's whatever happens. That looks like that's going to be a combo deal. But that would certainly elevate Colleague up to another level, no doubt about it. Since Larson won Sonoma, I got to get a diecast now, says OJ and Toothpaste. I would love to get that Sonoma diecast, but just not going to be in the cards for this year. Got some financially expensive things that need to be knocked out. Iceberg just put out a video about the possibility of Busch going back to Gibbs in 2026, or if he could get out of his option year at RCR in 2025. That'll probably be a story for 2026. I don't want to get into the Kyle Busch speculation stuff just yet. We just got past it last year. But yeah, he's going to be a huge free agent whenever that happens, whether he can get out of that contract or not. Would he go back to Gibbs? Here's my final thoughts on Kyle Busch going back to Gibbs. And I haven't watched Iceberg's video, but I did see the title of it, and I'm going to watch it later tonight. So I don't know exactly what he said. So if I'm being contrarian or if I'm agreeing, I don't know. But I wanted to make that clear. I think if Joe Gibbs wanted Kyle Busch would still be at Joe Gibbs. I think Joe Gibbs Racing wants to get younger. I think they're not going to be. They're happy for the time Martin Truex Jr. spent with them. They're always going to be grateful for the time that Denny Hamlin spent with them. But they're ready to get younger and get some young guys in those seats and get those guys experience, because they knew it took Hendrick, with all the young talent Hendrick had at one point. They saw how many years it took for that Hendrick elite talent to get where it is today. And I think Joe Gibbs is anxious to go ahead and get those young guys in the car. Who was younger than Christopher Bell, by the way, I'd like to point out. There's no telling how good Eric Jones would be. Right, Eric Jones is good right now, but obviously he's not sitting in Gibbs equipment, I guess I should say. So yeah, I think Gibbs has been trying to get young for a while, and although they appreciate the guys they got there, they're not they're not going to be upset to see him go. So I don't see a situation where Kyle Busch would go back to Gibbs from that perspective. And that's the only way I really look at that. Let's see. BB, will Kyle Busch get Ross payback? That's a good question. He didn't seem too mad about it. Like, he didn't go crazy after all this stuff went down. So I think he's already made it up in his mind that he's going to pick a time and place to probably get that revenge, and no need to go ahead and announce it. So yeah, I do think he will pay him back, but I just don't know when. I don't think it'll be anytime soon, because he knows he's in a race to get that last spot for the playoffs right now, or get that first win to get into the playoffs. So I don't think you're going to see anything immediately. Let's see. ARCA, generally speaking, has been terrible for a while now. Go Cars Tour, says Napa Racing Fan. I appreciate the YouTube content even more now. Rest in peace, Race Hub. Thanks for your content as well as the other great channels. Yeah, for sure. A lot of great NASCAR content out there, and more people coming every day for their NASCAR content. I see guys all the time, and they're great. So yeah, definitely check them out. And look, if they've got a low subscriber count or a low view count, don't let that. I'm saying this from experience, because I suffered through it for a long time. Just because they have a low view count or a low subscriber count, if you see a video they make and it looks like it's an interesting title and something you'd like, go ahead and click on it and give them a chance, because there's a lot of up and comers out here trying to get something going. Cody Dennison just signed with a ARCA team. He is a YouTuber, says Duke Chronic. So that's cool. That's cool. I didn't know that. I'll have to check him out. Austin Hill is a little bit of that. Just own it and move on. Yeah, that's the one thing about Austin Hill. If he could just, I think there's so much emotion with him going after the race. He kind of a little bit has some of that Kyle Busch in him, except he's way bigger. Like if I don't think Ricky Stenhouse would have been as excited to throw that first punch if it was Austin Hill who did it to him. But he has a little bit of that Kyle Busch to him. If he could just do that deal where he's like, yeah, I wrecked him, and instead of just saying something after the race, be like, I'm just going to wreck him twice as hard next time I see him. Just buy into that bully or villain role or whatever you want to call it. Let's see. If the big teams boycott Daytona, can BJ McLeod win Daytona on Earth 1? He was mighty close on the restrictor plate tracks this year. I forget if it was either Atlanta or Daytona, but he was leading some laps at one of them this year before he sort of like ran out of gas and touched the wall a little bit. Trotter went to Sirius, and she has a TV show, My Dream Car, says Mark Barnum. She did, for sure, and she keeps it going everywhere she goes. She's pretty busy no matter what she's doing. Busch might get an offer of part of the team at RCR. I think he's probably, if I'm guessing, I'm thinking he's already had that offer. So it is going to be interesting to see what Kyle Busch does when the contract comes up. But I don't think going back to Gibbs is going to be one of those options. But that's just my opinion. I've been wrong before. I didn't think he would ever leave Gibbs either. So it is what it is. I agree with your take about Gibbs. If they wanted Kyle to stay bad enough, he would still be there. 100%. I think once M&M's left and they couldn't immediately get him another big sponsor like that to replace M&M's, I think they just looked at it as, hey, we're just going to string it along as possible so that we don't give another team an advantage while he's still here. And then, they basically just kind of strung him along. And then he ended up at RCR, is the way I looked at it. And from a business perspective, Joe Gibbs is a super nice guy, but when it comes to business, he's as ruthless as they come. So I could 100% see Joe Gibbs doing that for competitive advantage. He's just a really competitive guy. He's got a lot of championships and a lot of stuff for a lot of reasons. I thought about this whole Trackhouse got 2 charters before the agreement. Do you think they would be grandfathered in with JGR and Rick Hendrick? So one team has already asked that. So I'm just going to go ahead and assume that team was either 2311 or Trackhouse. So I'm going to assume that question has already been asked, and NASCAR has probably already said no. It would be my guess. Do you remember the Harvick Busch Darlington fight incident in 2011? I remember a lot of Kevin Harvick fight incidents, so you'll have to narrow it down on that one. KB has not been at his full winning ways since 2019. Aaron, I mean, a lot of drivers. I'm just going to use Denny Hamlin as an example because they both drove at the same place. Denny Hamlin had a series of years where he wasn't looked at as being in his prime, but now that he's hit his 40s, which Kyle Busch isn't even in his 40s yet. Denny Hamlin refound some of that speed, and it's a combination of things. So I'm not going to say Kyle Busch is done yet. Like a lot of people are like, he's just not the same guy. I think he is the same guy. I think it's just there are gonna be times in the driver's career where they go through the slump and then they'll find a resurrection. Kevin Harvick was another guy, went through some slumps and then he had resurrections, then he'd go through slumps. I think Kyle Busch, you haven't seen the last of Rowdy. Rowdy will make another appearance. He won 3 races last year. That's pretty doggone good. I like to see KFB go to the 43 car and that Jones boy go back over to JGR. Says like dislike. Now Eric Jones to JGR, I can get behind that. I think you could make an argument for that. I know they repaved the bottom 2 grooves at Iowa. Also, Busch ran out of gas. How did that impact the wreck at the end of the day? He only lost about 6 spots. The deal with Larson cost him about 30 points. Says Dirty Def. So yeah, he was gonna finish, I want to say 12th, but then he was gonna finish 17th, but because they threw the caution for Martin Truex Jr., he ended up 12th. So yeah, it didn't cost him as bad as he did, but the deal with Ricky Stenhouse, that's probably going to be the bigger deal for sure. So yeah, I don't think you'll see any payback, and I think the type of payback I'm talking about is maybe Kyle Busch just goes like Kyle Busch has a way slower car, and he would block Ross Chastain for several laps. That's the type of payback. I don't think you're going to see him send him into the wall. Like Ricky Stenhouse is going to get sent into the wall at one point. You know that's coming. BB, what about Gibbs versus Austin Hill fight? Ty Gibbs versus Austin Hill. I don't know if it's a significant reach advantage. If Ty Gibbs keeps his helmet on, he can go the distance, and maybe if he lands volume of punches, that'll be the only way he's going to win that one. He does have pretty good technique if you watched him with the helmet on. So the technique is there. He obviously is putting in the work in the gymnasium, but I got to go all day. Austin Hill is probably going to win that, even with the helmet on. I can't wait to see what Denny has got to say about it, says Aaron Flynn. Oh, he's got a whole podcast basically dedicated to the charter stuff. Dale Jr. should not be in the NASCAR Hall of Fame, says Ben Kluber. So you're taking you're taking the minority take on that one. There's a lot of Dale Jr. fans who think otherwise. I can see arguments both ways. I don't really care who's in the Hall of Fame, to be totally honest with you. Larson tied Dale Jr. in Cup wins. I care who's not in the Hall of Fame, though. I'll tell you that. Smokey Eunuch should be in the Hall of Fame. Larson tied Dale Jr. in Cup wins with 26. Yeah, I forgot to mention that in the show, but there you go. They are tied right now, so that's pretty cool. Where do you think Chase Briscoe might be racing next year? I'd love to see him in the 21. 21, you hear a lot of talk about that, so I would have to lean toward that right now. Seems to be the leading candidate. BJ McLeod had a fast ride at Daytona, but got wrecked out of the duels and didn't make the race. Oh, okay. So I was thinking of Atlanta, where he was leading some laps probably. The grandfathered in thing seems unfair treatment to me. 2 teams shouldn't receive special treatment over everyone else as an Appalachian fan. I agree. That's why I'm saying they should only be grandfathered in for 4 or 5 years at the max. Edged out, got hit and wrecked out, says Dirty Def. I know I mentioned this before, but I hope Martin Truex Jr. doesn't retire and stays in the 19 Bass Pro Shops, auto owners, insurance, interstate batteries, research, fine foods, Toyota Camry, XSE. Yeah, a lot of people. I think a lot of people want to see him hang in there and not retire after this year. And I hope he doesn't retire after this year. The dude's still running good. Don't retire until you're not running good anymore. Listen to Mark Martin, what he had to say about it. And when you want the best in NASCAR news, make the Baloney Man your go-to news source. I appreciate you there, Big Wheel. What's up, Big Wheel? What's up, Hawaii, Big Island, and the small islands? BB, don't you think Kyle Busch would do payback similar to Joey and Matt Kenseth at Martinsville to Chastain? I don't think it was that serious of a deal. I think Ross Chastain literally just got in there too hot, going for it on the last lap. I don't think it was this. It's Ross Chastain, so it's got to be a big deal, right? But I don't think it was this big, egregious thing. I think Ross Chastain was going for a spot. He locked him up, and he drifted into Kyle Busch. I don't think it was like, it's not this deep thing where he's like, I'm going to wreck this guy to get a spot. I don't think it was all that deep. I think he just went for it, locked him up, and he slid into Kyle Busch. And I think Kyle Busch understands that. And I think Kyle Busch is not happy about that, but I don't think Kyle Busch is like so mad that he's like, I'm going to go wreck this dude. How about when you're driving for Chip Ganassi, Ross air blocking Kyle at Atlanta, allowing Kurt to get the win? Oh yeah. So that one might get paid back. I don't know about this one. So yeah, that would have to totally irritate you as a Kyle Busch, if you're Kyle Busch, I should say. Could say recently Martin Truex Jr. is like Brett Favre when we're trying to figure out if he's staying or retiring. Yeah, like that would be the funniest thing. Martin Truex Jr. come out and saying, yeah, I'm going to retire, then come back pull a Eric Almirola. Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to retire. I've changed my mind. We're gonna stay here. Who was in the 53 car in the Xfinity race on Saturday? Says John Bender. I don't know. Let's see here. As of yesterday, it was still to be determined. Yeah, it's still, from what I can find right here on this quick search, it looks like it's still to be determined on the 53 car. I have no idea. OJ is that the one where Kyle Busch pushed Kevin Harvick's car out of the way? Says like this, like, how about when driving for Chip Ganassi, Ross air blocking Kyle at Atlanta, allowing Kurt to get the win? I just read that one. Let's see. On Earth 2, drag cars race at 200 miles an hour around Talladega under the lights, and then they brake really hard for the turns. Ben Kluber, for sure. Just got here. Has Hamlin won yet? He's still thinking about it. He didn't win his bracket. I know that. And I need to look up the brackets and do the brackets this week. You guys forgot to remind me. Let's see. I'll be interested in seeing viewership for Xfinity this year. I hope with it being over-the-air viewership, it increases. I hope it increases too, because I feel like the Xfinity series has a good thing going over there. NBC broadcast without Junior will be odd. We've seen it before, but still odd. Yeah, definitely. He wasn't here for a long time, but he definitely made an impact, right? Pat McAfee mentioned NASCAR, IndyCar, and F1 yesterday. Hey, there you go. Gaining momentum in the mainstream. Kyle Busch was also running out of gas, so I don't know how affected things. I think you're right about Kyle knowing what happens is Dirty Def. Yeah. I think Kyle knows it was a racing incident. He's probably not happy about it. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's like as mad about it as he was about the Ricky Stenhouse not leaving him enough room, in his opinion, at North Wilkesboro. BB could Hailie Deegan get the 21 ride or the 19 in Cup next year? On Earth 2, she's already started her own race team. The number 38 for in the Cup Series, number 38 Monster Hailie Deegan car. Now what for Martin Truex Jr. Says Douglas Serrano. I don't know. You have to ask Martin Truex Jr. I'm not gonna chase that one because I know how Martin Truex Jr. is. When he feels like it's time to decide, he'll decide. And no matter how many times or how many people pressure him, they're not gonna put him on the spot. He'll decide it in his own time. Let's see. Deegan to the 21 says like this. Like I don't know that that's gonna happen. Did you fill out an in-season bracket this season? I did. I had Martin Truex Jr. winning, so I was already out at Gateway. He says, Dirty Def. Oh, that sucks, man. Yeah, I haven't filled one out yet, but I'm going to try to do the next round. I meant to fill one out, but I keep forgetting to do it. I'm trying to get into the groove and do the new thing, even though it's not necessarily my forte or cup of tea. I'm trying to get into it. I'm trying to give it a chance, but I just keep forgetting about it. Like legitimately forgetting about it, not trolling forgetting about it. And like for all the big hubbub they made about it, they haven't made as big a hubbub about it this year, I feel like. Or maybe it's just me not being able to see as much stuff as I normally see because racing season's going crazy right now on the short track side of things. I don't know, but either way, did you fill out an in-season bracket this season? I just read that one. Whoops. Junior needs to buy into Doherty Racing and talk Cole Pearn out of retirement to come crew chief Truex on his team. Now that would be some crazy silly season stuff right there. I too had met a New Jersey legend, Martin Truex Jr., winning the Denny Hamlin tournament bracket. Says in between the lanes. So there you go. You weren't alone in that, Dirty Def. Having MTJ as your winner there. Fate of Adam Alexander. Do you think he just goes to a truck broadcast for Fox or goes to another network? I'm thinking if I'm Amazon, I got to give him a strong look. I got to give Adam Alexander a strong look. But that's just me guessing. Martin Truex Jr. is one of the highest paid drivers, says Duke Chronic. But to be fair, he's paid for by Bass Pro Shops, so it evens out. Alexander rumored to be IndyCar announcer with Fox if they get it. Hey, so there you go. He might be the IndyCar guy. That would be big. That would be big gain for IndyCar, I think. Nothing against the guys that they've had previously. It's crazy how the back end of Truex's career is one of the best drivers in the field. Yeah, he's sort of like Harry Gant. Like he started getting good when he was older, although Harry Gant didn't come into the sport until he was older. into the Cup Series until he was older. But yeah, similar deal with Truex there. Martin Truex isn't going anywhere. He's consistently a top 5 driver with wins. You only quit when you suck and can't win anymore, or get put to pasture on some nonsense underfunded team, says E. Damon Racing. That's pretty much how the end of a lot of people's careers go. I just like the bracket, so I tried to participate, and it's worse than I thought. It really doesn't bring much excitement, but at least the team is going to get 1 million, says Dirty Duff. You're not making it any better for me to want to get involved in the bracket. So I'm gonna jump in late and try to get involved with it. But yeah, I think that's probably where I'm going to end up on it myself. So yeah, but I will give it a fair. I'm going to give it a fair shake. Good to see somebody else out there. Somebody else out there thinks the same way that I think. That's pretty funny. Adam Alexander is a lot better at broadcasting than when he first started doing it. And that's the thing. The more cracks you get at it, the better and better you're going to get. Martin Truex Jr. tows his tracker boat from Bass Pro Shops with his Toyota Tundra TRD. Indeed. Hopefully it's not a new Toyota Tundra TRD, because they just recall for a company that's known for its reliability. Unfortunately, the new twin-turbo V6 had a manufacturing defect from the factory. They've got it figured out now, and they know which models have it. But hopefully he doesn't have one of the brand new twin-turbo V6s, because they a few of them grenaded, which is surprising, because the Toyota V8 is one of the longest-lasting engines that have ever been made. They missed Truex running, and for all your electronic aficionados, yes, I know a motor is electronics and an engine is a internal combustion multi-complex mechanical device. So I get it. They missed Truex running out of fuel when it happened, and Busch getting chastained on TV. Yeah, and apparently they missed Chastain getting chastained by Chase Elliott as well. I don't love to see the attorney either, but I'll give it a chance. Seems like another unnecessary gimmick, if you ask me, says Napa Racing fan. Yeah, that's the deal. I give all their gimmicks a chance, but I don't have to. Every time they come up with a gimmick, I don't have to be overly excited about it. I can say it's terrible and be pleasantly surprised. Like, who was it? Was that a Benjamin Franklin, one of his Pennywise things, where he says, always expect the worst. That way you're always pleasantly surprised. Let's see. BB, do you like lifted trucks with deep dish chrome rims with rubber band tires? Only if the front is lifted and the back is all the way on the ground. That's the official race truck of Earth 2. That's how you got to come with the setup here on Earth 2. You got to squat there. Hey, dislikes on the game here. You got to squat the rear, OJ. There you go. So I'm so glad you have a 5.7 I-Force V8 engine Tundra. There's a dude with 850K miles and no motor work, and only major repair was the transmission at 500K. Yeah, that's the funniest part. They figured out the engine's so good now that the transmissions are actually now the weak part. And a 500K for 500,000 miles on a transmission, especially if it's a automatic transmission, that is a minor miracle in itself. I hate when everyone makes a big deal about something that I couldn't care less about, all the hyping and announcing and bracket, and I just get mad because I know how much I'll have to hear about it, says Dirty Duff. Yeah. Get ready for it next year, though. There'll be no escaping it next year. It'll officially be a thing. 2018 Toyota Tundra. No, I don't like that. Heck no, I don't like that crap, says OJ and Toothpaste, talking about the twin turbo V6. The other thing I'll say about the twin turbo V6 is, even if they figure out the V6, I almost bet you money that the turbos will wear out before the transmission. Those are going to be the 2 weak points. The turbos will wear out, then the transmission will wear out before the engine ever will. Fox director, DP, and entire camera crew were all graduates of the Helen Keller School for Audiovisual Arts. Yesterday, I tried to find the replay of Sonoma Cup race on FS1, FS2, did not see it. I know you can rewatch any Cup race, Xfinity race, truck race on NASCAR YouTube channel. So yeah, that's going to be probably your best bets. I guess they don't have it up yet for the Fox gang. Real quick, what's this bracket stuff you guys are talking about? This is a gambling thing or some addition to NASCAR none of us are going to like. So next year, it will be an official addition to NASCAR. Right now, it's just a Denny Hamlin thing. And yes, it's not necessarily a gambling thing, but it's brought in basically for your gambling partners. It gives you something else to gamble on. So yeah, that's going to be a real thing. Let's see. It'll be a real thing next year, I should say. Give me that Martin Truex Jr. 124th Bass Pro Shop Toyota Camry Standard or Elite. It is a good-looking car. Austin Dillon's is pretty good, too. The Bass Pro Shops cars and Noah Gregson's, the Bass Pro Shops cars have been pretty much hitting this year. The tourney makes the dry summer races so much more interesting. How? I don't get it. The hated or not love tracks. I had good races recently, Michigan, Pocono, New Hampshire. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I feel like the racing's been good. I don't feel like you need the gimmick, but it is what it is. Yep, the new Tundras are garbage. Stay away from them. I wish Matty D, but don't worry. They cost twice as much as one from 2 or 3 years ago, and they're worse. I wish Matty D all the best for the rest of the Xfinity season, says Douglas Serrano. Yeah, he's a good driver. I think he'll get it done no matter what. The Bologna Burger Squat, the Bologna Burger Squat Truck Series. There you go. Bologna Burger Squat Truck Series, and they're all electric. Let's just get everybody upset at the same time. Only thing about SVG in a Cup is it's more, and they're all non-American brands. Only thing about, there you go. I've offended everyone now. Only thing about SVG and Cup is it's more car dependent than Xfinity. If SGG was in a Hendrick car, he would clean up, but you think he would struggle in the Kaulig car? In Xfinity, he can take a second-tier car and win. Probably a fair point, but I think with Kaulig helping him out, he's going to have pretty close to top-tier equipment. Do we think Buescher gets, because with Trackhouse helping out Kaulig, I should say, they'll have pretty close to top Chevrolet tier equipment. So do we think Buescher gets a win this year? I kind of hope so. I think Buescher will get a win. I like what Brad's doing with that team. Yeah, he's definitely got RFK going in the right direction. Chase Elliott, Hooters, Camaro, as well as a 124th Standard Elite. The list goes on. The SHR, is SHR still going to have an Xfinity Series team this year? No. Well, for the rest of this year, they will. Next year, though, they will not. They're selling off the Xfinity Series team, too. Don't love Harvick's Happy Hour podcast. Like his analysis and stories from his career. I can do without the social media nonsense or his dictionary words of the week, though, says Napa Race Fan. Yeah, that's the one thing. The word of the week, it was pretty cool. Maybe the first 2 or 3 times they did it. I'm kind of over the word of the week now. It's just getting corny. But that's what Fox likes to do. Fox likes corny. So we'll probably get some more of it next year. All new car prices are stupid. I saw a new Sequoia TRD at the dealership, $81K, like WTF, dude. Yeah, for real, man. Like, I swear, like 2015, I got that Joker for 45 or 50. Like, it's almost double at this point. It's crazy, man. There's at least 20K markup on stuff right now. So, like, I got a really good deal on my truck. Like, I got my truck for 33 brand new when I bought it. LTZ Silverado, 33 brand new in 2018, 2019, somewhere in there. I want to say 2018. Now, an LTZ, where if the headlight goes out, it might fry a sensor and it costs $1,000 to replace it. Google that on Ford Lariat. It's a real thing. More expensive to repair, more electronics in it, twice as much money, and they're just so finicky. Like, when something goes wrong, like, I'm out, man. Like, give me older cars all day as far as that's concerned. Let's see. And they're twice as expensive and they break more often. Like, it's just it's insane. It's insane. Let's see. Where does Martin Truex get his first win of possibly multiple wins at his hometown tracks? That's a good question. I wouldn't bet against him here at Iowa. Iowa's going to be a tough one to pick here because we don't have any data on it. So it's just going to be I'm going to have to do some Olympic levels of research to figure out who's going to finish where. Any idea where Gragson is going? Dirt Diff, not a clue. Not a clue in the world. My guess would be Front Row Motorsports, but it is just that. I guess that would be my pick, but I don't know. I have no inside information. A lot of people keep saying RCR, but I have no clue, honestly. As cool as the other side of the pillow, says like this, like, yeah, and that what's funny about that. That's not even new. That's not new slang. That's like Stuart Scott from Sports Center. Like, that's old. That's old as dirt. Same thing for Kyle Busch. That track does. What track does he keep the winning streak alive? Same answer. Could be Iowa, right? So we'll have to see. Duke Chronic, Silverado. My fault. I said it wrong. Silverado. I forget what that comic is that does that. KB is my pick for Iowa, says Douglas Serrano. Leave out BB. Peace out, BB. I love the show. Thanks, Dirty Diff. Appreciate you hanging out with us, my man. Logano will probably win in Iowa because it's a new track. Oh, that's a good point right there. So probably Logano or a JGR car. They typically, or Kyle Larson. Larson tested. Oh, there we go. That's all the information I needed. Duke Chronic calling it right now. Kyle Larson probably going to be my favorite to win Iowa here. That Harvick podcast sucks. Those other 2 hosts are absolutely nothing. Oh, come on now. We raced against Mamba the other week. He's a pretty nice guy. he was talking to everybody up and down pit road. So I can't jump on that. Caitlin Vincey, super nice too. Her sister-in-law has raced for us before, so I'm not going to say they're nothing. And I haven't watched the podcast, but if you don't like the podcast, I understand where you're coming from with that. But I don't want to attack the hosts on there. I don't want to go that far. However, could cause a surge in this channel. Hey, there you go. So there you go. If that's the replacement for NASCAR's Race Hub, could cause a surge in this channel. I'll take the surge though. If those viewers want to come over here, I'll take that surge for sure. But yeah, I don't want to attack anybody in the media. I don't ever want to go down that road. Let's see. One more thing. Thoughts about Joey Chestnut being banned from Nathan's. Should he get a waiver? LOL, says they're deaf. Yeah, that's pretty funny. So for those that don't know, Joey Chestnut is he's gone vegan or something. So Nathan's hot dogs, which is all beef 100%, and this could be a ploy or a tactic or whatever. They have banned Joey Chestnut because he is vegan now. So we'll have to see if this is something to hype it up or if this is something real. But yeah, if he's not eating real beef hot dogs, he can't participate in the competition though. You can't let him eat vegan, because what if that's a competitive advantage, right? What if the vegan hot dogs go down easier? He could be doing it just to get an advantage. So I got to stay. I'm going to say no waiver for Chestnut in that situation. I'll keep driving my 98 Jeep Wrangler until it won't roll anymore. Says T-Van. Well, how many times are you going to roll it over, T-Van? I'm just joking. Those cars are easy to work on, and it's a good thing because you usually do have to work on them a lot. And 98s maybe not so much. I'll say that though. You got a hell of a deal on BB on that truck, says OJ and Toothpaste. That's a fact, because when I walked in there, I wasn't planning on buying it. What color is the truck? It is. It's like a Duke blue. So it's a pretty good looking truck. Larson and Bell testing at Iowa, a brand new track for Cup. That's going to be bad. Oh yeah, it could be Bell too. So there you go. That's it makes that a tougher pick now. My mom's 2016 Chevy Trax only has 27K on it, and the AC has never worked, says T-Van. That's the worst, man. I hate that, my dude. I heard about Joey Chestnut, says in between the lanes. I didn't know about the Chestnut stuff. Chestnut says in between the lanes. Chestnut was funny, though, so I'm going to go with Chestnut. Feels like a troll from Nathan's, and Chestnut says Dick Chronic. That's what I'm thinking, too. It's got to be a troll just to hype up the event. That's what I'm thinking. Like, it's going to be last minute, and he walks out there, like, because, they do the big announcement thing. They got the announcer guy that everybody hated at Martinsville that one time. He did the Martinsville announcements the year that it was crummy weather and William Byron led like every lap. It's a sponsor deal. He had to be exclusive to Nathan's. So it's just a sponsor thing, similar to what happened to Kobayashi. So it's just a sponsorship deal. I paid $32K for my 2017 Tundra used. So there you go. That's what I'm saying. Like back in the day, man, these things were like 32. Now, good luck finding a truck under 75K. It is insane. Like I said, it's almost marked up half, and they break down more often because they got so many especially if you get the higher trims, they got so many electronics. I just looked up a story about a Ford Lariat. I'm actually going to look it up right now and see if I can find it. Ford Lariat. Yep, there we go. Found it. So there we go. Riveting content, watching me search for things on the internet that you can't see. I know. There you go. There it is. There it is. $5,600 bill for a Ford Lariat rear tail light. And I got a friend that has a Dodge, and I'm sure Chevrolet's the same way with all these new electronics and stuff on them. But yeah, be careful. Buy the lower trims, fewer electronics, so that when you have to replace something like this, it doesn't end up biting you in the butt. But if you do buy new, buy that warranty, and before the warranty goes out, sell it and get something else, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Spend your money how you want to spend it. Let's see. Cows eat grass, so they are vegan, therefore eating cows. You are vegan. I follow the logic there. Let's see. I got paid 32. I paid 30. I just read that one. Let's see. Do you feel 350 laps will be too many for this Sunday's Iowa Corn 350, especially with half the repave? I thought 300 was the sweet spot before the half pave. I don't know. It's just going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. at the end of the day. Paid 17 for my S10. I know in 2004, you could get a Chevy Cavalier, which later became the Chevy Cobalt, which later became the Chevy Cruze, which later became nothing because they got rid of all of them. You could get one brand new for $9,000 because they were trying to get rid of them. You could get a brand new car for $9,000 in 2004, and I think for $12,000 you could have got one of those Chevy Aveo, and then whatever it became after it was no longer the Chevy Aveo, but you know what I'm talking about, the little Spark, the Chevy Spark. I think that was the cheapest car you could get up until recently, but those are all gone now. But you could get that car for, what did I say, 12 or 14,000, and then for 5,600 you can repair a tail light for a Ford Lariat F-150 from 2023 or whatever year it is. I used tail light for a Toyota, and I can't believe how bad the prices are now. It's like everything is doubled. It's insane, man. It's just getting crazy. Race car parts are just as bad as they've ever been. BB, I think BB is going to go vegan. We'll be calling his channel Lettuce Burger eventually. So I did do 1 year. I don't do Lent all the time, but 1 year I did Lent, and I went vegan for Lent. In those 40 days and 40 nights, it's actually longer than 40 days and 40 nights, I lost 30 pounds. So eat vegan if you really want to lose weight. But it fell off. You couldn't keep it on. We finally ended up on a pizza where it was soy cheese on top, but it did taste like a regular. So soy mozzarella does taste like regular mozzarella. So basically, we just ate pizza and peanut butter sandwiches every day. And after a while, if that's the only thing you eat, you just don't really care about eating anymore. The Ford truck with the built-in 120 volt outlet, says Duke Chronic. Yep, that's it. That's the one. Could they dump Iowa for Montreal? That's what a lot of people are thinking. Hope not. Would like both on the schedule. That's what a lot of people are scared about. They think it's going to be a one-off for Iowa, and they think Montreal is going to get it next year. The Ford Lightning electric are all dropping prices because no one wants it. And Ford said, we just want to make EVs less expensive. Yeah, nope, not buying that. Yeah, so it's not even a Ford Lightning though that they had the issue with. So it's a gas-powered Ford Lariat. In the video up there that I linked. Got my first truck when I was 3, drove it 100,000 miles on my knees. If it wasn't for trucks, we wouldn't have tailgates. I don't remember all the lyrics dislike, but I'm following what you're following. Rest in peace, Joe Diffie. I just hope Iowa is not like Richmond, says Duke Chronic. I think it'll be better than Richmond. I think it'll be more like Bristol, and you'll have to move people off the bottom groove. Lots of corn in Iowa, says Douglas Serrano. Iowa Trophy might be cool. I'm pretty sure it'll be cool. Dodge just recalled like 200,000 vehicles also. Yeah, so pretty much, I'll just go ahead and say it. Pretty much everything made, because I used to work at manufacturing until everything that's going on that shut the world down happened. Anything built after 2019, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you it's probably not worth a darn. Worth a darn, not worth a darn. You know what I want to say, but I'm on YouTube. And also, this is a family channel, so I can't say that. Iowa Trophy might be cool. I think it'll be cool. I could care how bad the races are this week, as long as Logano punches his playoff ticket, says E. Damon. I think he'll eventually punch it for sure. Corn in Iowa is just coming out of the ground. Was a late planning this year, says Mark Barnum. LOL, Lettuce Burger. LaJoy has Iowa Hawkeye scheme. Oh, I need to see that. I need to pull that up. I can't wait to do the paint scheme preview for this weekend on Sunday. Nice reference to the late, great Joe Diffie. Indeed, my friend. F1 in Montreal was good, but the fan experience was terrible. Just check all the horror stories on the internet. There were a few like that with definitely with Miami, but Las Vegas, I feel like there was a lot of horror stories on the Vegas deal as well. I saw not too long ago. Oh man, somebody cut my shorts here. Shorts got snagged on something. They got cut. Problems of doing mechanicking stuff. All your pants have random rips in them. Toyota recalled 100K Tundras too. Metal debris in the motor. Yeah, that's the twin turbo V6 I was talking about. OJ and toothpaste. Yep, that's the one. That is it. That is the one. Let's see, BB. What new tracks in or will we get next year? Lime Rock. I don't know about Lime Rock. I'm thinking probably Montreal, maybe Mexico. So I don't know. One or the other. Those are the only two I feel comfortable going out on a limb with. I don't think you'll see Rockingham, and I'm I'm very skeptical. I know there's a lot of talk about going to Bowman Gray for the Busch Clash, but I'm skeptical. I don't know about that one. We'll see though. I've been wrong before. F1 Montreal, IndyCar, Road America, and NASCAR Sonoma were all very entertaining Sunday. NHRA at Bristol also. It was definitely a good weekend of racing. Yeah, Napa, all 3 races were good, says Duke Chronic. And looks like we've reached the end of the chat here. So I'm going to read off the poll results. Then I'm going to jump off of this rascal. If the charter deal lingers on, will there be a strike? Will there be a strike? 14%. Series split, 16%. They'll play rock, paper, scissors, also at 16%. And nothing will happen takes it in a whopping 54%. So most of you guys thinking nothing will happen with 74 votes in. Much appreciated. I do love Canada and Mexico idea, but I'd hate to dump Iowa for it. Bring back the rock, says Napa Racing Fan. And that's what we're going to leave you off on with. Appreciate y'all joining in, and I will catch you on the next episode, and I'll catch you on the next live on Sunday before the race. Thanks for your time. Peace.